Hey guys, this video is just pretty much talking about how to start an LLC. I'm constantly seeing like ads of like companies that can promise, 24-hour turnaround and, $100 or even I've seen it as low as like $39, but I've actually seen it as high as like 500 depending on the state. Um, my biggest thing with this is you can get it done yourself in like 10 minutes or less in most states. There's very few states that it takes any longer than that. So if you're thinking about starting an LLC, don't waste your time on those companies. Don't waste your time on any services that, claim, 24-hour turnaround because, again, 10 minutes and you're done. So let me show you how easy it is. And again, this is based in Colorado. That's where I am. So most every state, you go to the Secretary of State's website. It's fairly simple in most states. This is the homepage where it lands here in Colorado. So they make it really, really simple here. So you go to start a business. Pretty simple. You're looking for an LLC. You go to next. This is kind of where you pick your name. So what is the name that you're wanting to use in Colorado? Let's go with Apple Bottom LLC. So we're going to use 460 South Vance Street. This was already in here because I wanted to kind of have a template ready for you. So this is the very next page. Typically this would not be checked, but just for purposes that we're doing right now, we're going to use the same street address. So we click next. So this is going to be the registered agent. So again, if you're trying to start a business in Colorado and you want to operate here, but you do not physically live here, I can be a registered agent. Anyone in the state, as long as they have a physical address, can be your registered agent. I charge a very small fee for that. It's a monthly fee, but I would pretty much cover your end, so none of your information would be publicly viewed. So if anyone was trying to get to you or find any information about your business, they would go through me. That's what a registered agent pretty much is. A lot of these companies, they offer, we can get your LLC set up and we'll be your registered agent for, $40 a month, whatever. I've actually seen that as high as a couple hundred a month, depending on the state again. So that's what a registered agent does. It can be you. You do not have to have anyone on your behalf. If it is you, then your information will be public. And if someone searches your business on the Secretary of State's website, no matter what state you're in, your information is what will be viewed. So from here, let's say you're using me as the registered agent, it would fill out here, you would fill in my information, same as the street address above is where all of your mail would go. So I would go through that, make sure everything, goes to the right place, goes to your home, whatever that situation may be. Again, this is typical stuff that any registered agent does. A lot of these companies, they charge, outrageous fees and to kind of get you locked in, and you don't even realize that you're getting locked into like a year contract for them to be your registered agent when it's pretty simple, there's not a lot to this, but they charge outrageous fees. So, has the person agreed to be your appointed registered agent for this entity, which is Apple Bottom LLC? Obviously, I have. So you click yes. Who's managing the limited liability company? So what this means is it going to be members or managers? So is it going to be people that you have hired that's going to be managing this, or is it going to be actual members like owners, such as you and your spouse or you and a friend that went together to create the business? So that's kind of how that is classified. Again, you don't need to hire a company for this. Pretty simple questions here. And is there at least one member of the LLC company? And you would click yes. So I went ahead and filled this in. It's pretty simple. You would just fill in, whoever is the actual member of the LLC. The member of the LLC and the registered agent do not have to be the same, and that is not state contingent. Any state, those can be two separate individuals or entities. So whenever you go next, you fill in, if there's any additional information that you want to include in your filing, and then do you need to attach any additional information? a lot of times this could be, if the business has went through any type of changes recently, if you're going from a apple bottom, as a sole proprietor to Apple Bottom LLC. This is where you would kind of fill in the Secretary of State's office of what's happening. So therefore, things don't get, double filed at the state level, such as, there's two businesses, quote unquote, operating, is how the state would view that. So if you let them know that, hey, this was a sole proprietor, we're now going to an Apple Bottom LLC. That way, there's no confusion going down the line, especially when it comes to tax time. All of that's taken care of. And specifically here in Colorado, I can state that the Secretary of State office, they are always on it. You can call them. You're not getting a voicemail constantly. So the Secretary of State's office is very useful. So again, do not go hire a company to do what you can get done in 10 minutes. Again, I'm rambling on and talking about this, so it may take me few extra minutes. I'm not sure. I'm not even timing this. But let's say you don't need to add any extra information. So do you want this filing to take effect immediately? So I put yes. You can also put no. And let's say, you're not wanting to start, or you're not going to be opening your doors until, like right now it's May 13th, and you're not going to be opening until June 1st. So, you would put in June 1st right here. And then put in the time that the filing should take effect. So, if you're opening that day, a lot of times just do it, at 12 a.m. That way, you're good to go come open time. So you click Next. And this is going to be the filer again. They do not have to be the same as the registered agent. If you hire one of those companies, they will be listed as the filer also. And again, that can also create you problems later on if you don't understand, how to remove them off of your state paperwork. It can become very difficult to get in contact with who you need to get them removed from your state paperwork. Because if you do have to contact the state, you need to know all the information that they have put in. So if anything was, typed incorrectly or anything, it becomes your problem if you're no longer paying that company to represent you as your registered agent or as the filer. So click Next. This would be where you would add in an email address, to get any notifications. I always add an email address, and some states also let you put in your cell phone number. So therefore, you can kind of create multiple ways for them to get a hold of you. Very useful, because they will send you a quick text and be like, hey, there's a new law at the state level that may affect your business. So, you can kind of stay up to date, even, outside of your business. That way, your business is actually protected, and the laws that, could be going into effect that could change the way you have to do business. So this is where you review everything, take a look at everything, make sure everything looks correct. Again, this is the same steps that any of these companies that you would hire would do. Again, look, it has taken me, I think, like 8 or 9 minutes at this point, and almost done. One step left. So here we are at the end. So we are currently at $50. Colorado used to be $1 during COVID to try and help get businesses started. So it's $50, which is normal here in Colorado. So name, Apple Bottom LLC. It's $50 to create your LLC. So you would either do a credit or debit card. If I was your registered agent, I would use a prepaid account that I have at the state level. And then once you put in your information here, and you click Pay Now, it'll take you to a screen to put in your card information, and then it immediately gives you a PDF of your certificate of good standing with all of your business information, along with getting an immediate email from the Secretary of State giving you their direct contact information and an email address to a point of contact there. So you have a way to get help. So if you are not the one that's filling this out, the registered agent and the filer would be the one getting that information from the state. So you may be left out, of important information just because one of these companies kind of lured you in by, saying there's a 24-hour turnaround. Look at that. It took me less than 10 minutes to get an LLC going, started in the state of Colorado. All I had to do is pay the $50 and we're set to go. But don't do that. Do not pay a company to do what you can do in 10 minutes or less. And this is not just Colorado. I've created LLCs in Georgia, Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, California, and Washington. All of those, less than 10 minutes. So most every state, it's pretty simple to do. Do not let a company make you believe that you can't do this. So push forward. If anyone needs any help, feel free to reach out to me. I give free advice. I can, give most of my services for free. So, do not let a company tell you that, you need them, because you don't. You just need to educate yourself in the few steps that it takes to make these things happen. So to introduce myself a little bit, my name is Mav. I help entrepreneurs get started in businesses, typically LLCs, small type businesses. I help them get their social media started. I kind of work in the back ends a lot, back end of any type of business almost, because most businesses operate on the same type of skeleton, honestly. So, they have to have communication internally and externally. They have to have some form of marketing, and they have to have a way to actually get their stuff out to people. So, forms of logistics. So, why pay a company when you can do it online, fast, easy, on your own? You don't need a lawyer. You don't need any agency at all. These services go do the same as you can do, same website. They don't have any special ends in any state. They're just another business, just like what you're trying to start. If you look at a lot of these companies, a lot of them are LLCs themselves. So how to do it yourself? Go to the Secretary of State's website like I just showed you. Find on most Secretary of State's websites on the main page to start a business or start an LLC or create a business, some form of wording such as that, Fill everything out, pay the filing fee, and then you're set to go. And, you don't need a registered agent to work on your behalf, at least if it's a company. If it's an individual, I don't mind being a registered agent for people. I charge a very low fee for that. It's definitely not, $50 a month or anything like that for people, because I know how difficult it is to get started. I also understand the laws in each state can be very different. There's certain states that I will never open a business of my own in, because the laws there do not help protect the owners and the business itself. I will start a business here in Colorado, Virginia, Washington State, Oregon. These are all states that, do try to help businesses and try to help, the economy grow in general. So, don't get ripped off. Set up your LLC the smart way. If you need a registration in Colorado or, just need some guidance or any type of advice, reach out. I'm Mav. Just trying to keep it simple. No need to kind of create all these little loopholes that these companies are making to, try and get you to believe that you need them to do something for you in a 24-hour turnaround when, why not a 10-minute turnaround? A lot simpler and cheaper. So, starting an LLC, don't pay hundreds to do what you can do in 10 minutes. So if you have questions, reach out, make sure to like, share, I love you guys. I hope this helps.